When I first started my entrepreneurial journey, I identified 5 women who I looked up to and I was like, man, these women are so rad and doing such cool things in the world. And I really followed their stories and I followed what they were doing and I followed how they were doing it and I followed the energy they were showing up in. And those women have become close friends and just people I continue to admire and love and respect on such a freaking deep, deep, deep level. And I feel so grateful and excited that I get to have one of them on the show today, the wonderful, the amazing Lori Harder. She is an absolute powerhouse. If you do not know Lori or you haven't met her yet, I'm so excited for you to just listen to this episode and just get a taste of her dedication, she's just the queen of reinvention, resilience. She's the queen of making big, bold moves in business. And if you've been in the personal development world for more than 5 minutes, you probably already know Lori. She's a serial entrepreneur. She's a best-selling author. She's a top podcast host of Earn Your Happy, which I've been on. It's such a good podcast. And she's honestly just a freaking expander. She's an expander for me, and she's an expander for tens of thousands of entrepreneurs who are in the game of business. But what I love most about Lori is she's not just here to talk about success. She's here to get real, to get raw, to go behind the scenes. And she talks about what it really takes to build something meaningful, which is so incredible, right? Like, let's talk about that journey, right? She went from launching Light Pink to then having to pivot during COVID to Glōci, which is a journey that she shares about in this podcast. And it was just honestly having people talk about their entrepreneurial struggles with such transparency and openness is so regulating for my nervous system because it makes me go like, oh my God, I'm not alone in this. Lori and I get into what it really takes to be an entrepreneur, how to navigate those oh shit moments, and why the ability to regulate your nervous system is actually the secret weapon to success. That is what I think, I talk to so many of my friends about that, but it's like, if we can really get with that and get with the regulation as the chaos is happening, that is the best practice that we can possibly have. It's not about the best strategy or the best messaging or the best paid ads, this or that, or whatever it is. It's about how can I be so calm, so clear, and hold the vision even when things are looking a little bit messy. And Lori is such a beautiful example of that. And before we dive in to today's episode with the amazing Lori Harder, I want to ask you a question. Are you someone who is called to help others? Maybe you're someone who's always been the one that people go to for advice, support, emotional regulation, whatever it is. You are here to help others break through fear, heal trauma, and create deep transformation. If so, then I invite you to check out the Somatic Coaching Certification. We are launching this in the very end of March, early April, and this is your opportunity to really step into the work that your soul is here to do. Because here's the truth. Transformation does not happen in the mind alone. It happens in the body. And if you've ever felt like traditional coaching only scratches the surface, which I definitely did, this certification will teach you how to create real, sustainable results at a somatic level so people are not on the personal development roller coaster going up and down and up and down and up and down. So if you're ready to master the tools and help people rewire their nervous system, release old patterns, and really step into their power at the highest level, head on over to www.pausebreathwork.com/somatic. That's www.pausebreathwork.com/somatic. You'll be taken to an application form where you can fill out an application form to be accepted for the next cohort. All right, let's get right into today's show with Lori Harder.
Can't be contained.
That's what I'm talking about. Lori Harder, welcome to the Can't Be Contained show. Thanks for being here, babe.
I'm so excited to be here. I feel like we had a whole podcast before we hit record.
I know. I kind of thought we were recording, and then I'm like, oh, we're definitely not recording.
It's the best. We need catch-up time like that. We really should just schedule it in,
100%. 100%. Okay, so I don't know if I shared this with you. I might have. I want to start here. So probably like 7 years ago, I drove up from San Diego to your house in Santa Monica with Chris. And I think I was on Chris's podcast or your podcast. We were
Mhm.
doing like some creative that day. But I remember walking around this like beautiful home and just feeling the love of your home and just feeling it was almost like my system got a calibration to what powerful relationships are like. It was almost like I was like in this like real life vision board of like, oh my gosh, Lori and Chris have this beautiful home and this like just the way that you two guys talked about like your goals and your relationship. And it like imprinted this feeling and this knowing like that is what's possible. And it was at a time where I was actually in a relationship that was very opposite of what I saw at your house. And that moment gave me the vision of this is what I desire. And now being with Eric, I feel like if someone came to our house, they would feel that same thing. And so thank you for the imprint and the calibration into greatness as far as relationships. That was a really beautiful gift that you guys gave me.
Oh my God. Okay. This makes me so happy for so many reasons, but I'll tell you one that now, especially that you're in a relationship like that, that has been so powerful for us. I think that like nothing makes me happier than hearing that, because that is rolled into now a lot of not only my purpose, but the purpose of our relationship together. So not only do Chris and I, we learned probably earlier on, like, I don't know, maybe 5 years before you had that experience, like we started doing personal development together of really creating what our relationship together means for other people. So not only like, what's the impact, when the new year comes, we all think about what we want and what we want to do and who we want to be. And, we do all of these different things. And now Chris and I, what we also put into that is who we want to be as a couple. So not only individually, but what does our relationship together do and mean and impact for people? So, even when there's times when him and I are not on the same page, or maybe we're arguing a lot, or maybe we're going through a really rough patch in our marriage, because I was telling you, we'll be together 20 years in August.
So phenomenal.
Which is so exciting, so amazing. And also I could spend an hour talking to you about all the, the shit that we've gone through to get to that point.
Yeah.
Which has also been incredible. But now it's like, even having that for him and I, it becomes this extra like solid foundation for us, because sometimes when we're struggling or we're having trouble, like, maybe we're irritated with each other or life is really, lifing, we remember that our relationship together and us like getting through this particular struggle or this particular fight or this particular hard time in our business, that us getting through it is going to make a huge impact on other people. And so I think it takes our relationship to another level of going, when you make your relationship not only mean something to the two of you, but when you make it mean something to other people in their relationships, for those who, want to look to you or have a relationship like you, you start doing it for such a bigger purpose. Like you start wanting to work it out for something bigger than the two of you also.
That is so, so, so powerful. And one of the things that Eric and I have been doing since we got married is really looking around in our world and going, who is in a relationship where we're like, that's what we want, and you and Chris are definitely one of those couples, but it's like, we need examples. We need examples of people who like do not throw the towel in when it gets hard. Cause like you said, life be lifing and relationships can be the best thing ever and the hardest thing ever. So who do we have to be individually and as a couple in order to let the tension and let the pain actually just evolve us into different beings? And I love that you guys have that frame of, we are setting the example. It's so needed. I'm curious if you guys have those couples in your life where you're like, oh, that relationship inspires us.
I think there's a lot of different people. It's funny. We have a lot of people, but then we don't, because there's not a ton out there. I think it's kind of how we view our friends. We collect different couples for different things. So
yeah.
There's some couples we love, for so many different reasons. And then we don't like parts of their relationship either. And I think that that's how we are with relationships with people. Like there are reasons why you're friends with some people, and they definitely don't check all of the boxes, but they most definitely check some of the main boxes or something that you really admire in them. So I think that's how it goes with us for couples is I'm like, wow, I really admire about, how they are in business and how they show up together and how committed they are. Or I really admire how they've really settled into each role. Like they've decided that even if I wouldn't want to be that role as a woman, I love that is something that she's owning so much and is so committed in that.
100%.
So I think that I can find the things to look at and be really, appreciative of for what they show me.
Yeah, 100%. I was hanging out with one of my girlfriends the other day, and she is like the feminine archetype. She is like, the sourdough bread baker type of thing. She's like, I don't want to work. I don't want to do that. And I was like, I know that's not my path, but I also want to like understand elements of that because I want that to be my path a little bit.
Totally. Like I want to make one loaf a month, I'm the one loafer. Like
I'm the one loafer. Oh my God. Oh my gosh. Eric like went all in on trying to do the sourdough bread thing. Like he was really interested in it and he bought like all of the shit that you needed and all the tools. And he spent all day doing it. And he was like loving it. He's like, this is so much fun. I'm like, great. And then he ate the entire loaf in like half an hour. And he's like, I'm never doing this shit again. So he gave away everything.
Totally. You're that would be me. I'm like, okay, I love doing this. And the problem is I'm going to eat it. And totally.
When I first started my last business, Hungry for Happiness, which was 2013, I think, you were one of the women that I really looked to. And you inspired the hell out of me by like how you showed up and how you served and how you spoke and how you created, and everything was just beautiful. And what's been really cool, and I shared this with you before we press record, but you're so damn consistent in the dedication to what it takes to be an entrepreneur and just create, even when there's ups and downs and lefts and rights and those moments where you're just like, I don't actually know what to do anymore. I'm terrified, whatever it is. What I'm curious is, what is that inside of you? Like, what is that makeup? Because I think a lot of people want to be entrepreneurs. A lot of people want to create. A lot of people want to make bank. A lot of people want that. But you do that, and you've been doing that consistently for so long at a high level. And I'm curious, what is the ingredients in Lori Harder that allows you to just show up?
That's a really great question. I think that because I've experienced the other side of it where I wasn't consistent at all, I actually had a mantra for real in my head. This was before I knew what mantras were, but the mantra in my head was, I never finish anything. And that would go around with me in everything I did and everywhere I went. And I felt like such a loser. And I had, I had never graduated from high school. Still to this day, I didn't. So it started with that. It was very much like I'd homeschooled through high school, and my parents, they were in their own struggle. Looking back, I'm like, man, they were in their own personal struggle. They had gone bankrupt. We, just had a lot of different things going on in our family, and we were in a more restrictive religion, and the rest of my family wasn't. And that just caused a lot of dynamics where family didn't want to, be with my family. And like to them in their world, they had a very challenging, like always business was challenging. Family was really challenging, living in a small town, really brutal winters. Like there was a lot of challenge growing up, like a lot of people have. And so, I was kind of the last thing on their mind, and I very much took the stance of, and it wasn't that I wasn't getting cared for, I definitely was, but in terms of like furthering my education and making sure that my schooling was going well. Like it was never, ever checked in on. And so I never had those people pushing me or following up. So it was like at a young age, I thought that I was supposed to be like this self-starter. And I was like, what is wrong with me? I can't finish this schoolwork. I'm terrible at math. I never finish anything. I can't get anything right. So I literally took that on at a young age. And I was like, wow, I don't finish anything. The only thing I finished was like, I was a very hard worker. So thank God that like got ingrained in me through my parents, through a lot through my dad. But that mantra like really started at a young age. And so that stuck with me. I really feel like I did not complete anything until the age of about 26. And it took, I had gotten married to my husband at 24. It took us getting together and him having this amazing job and moving up the corporate ladder and us, moving into these new homes and moving all over because he was a district manager for a bank called HSBC. And, us thinking that we like made it and we have this life. And all of a sudden in 2008, the financial crash hits. We lost everything. It literally took me going through that all over again and going, wait, my parents were bankrupt. Now we're losing everything. We're $300,000 in debt. We're short selling our house. We're selling our cars. And that was a really traumatic moment later on after thinking that you're good because you're young and you're stupid and you're spending all your money. That was the moment where I was like, I have to do something about this. Like, I have to take control. What does that look like? And that meant at that time, getting my personal training certificate, which I actually failed the first one and got the second one. But it was like this period of I can't finish anything. And especially once I didn't finish high school and then I failed that personal trainer certificate, like there was a big, when I say there was a big story there, it was getting so bad to the point where I was drinking so much. I was causing problems with my husband. I was having fights. Like I was literally at one point, we had gone out to a nice dinner with friends and then we went out drinking because that's what you do when you're 26 in the Midwest, or that's what a lot of people did. And I had such self-loathing for myself over this mantra of I never finish anything that I had one of those nights that when you get home, it was like a Saturday and Monday's coming, right? It's like you had the weekend's kind of coming to a close, you're going to be hungover tomorrow. And it's like the self-loathing, I hate myself. And I just start bawling on the stairs and saying like, I can't do this. I have anxiety. You don't know what it's like. You don't know what it was like to not be forced to have to do anything. And just everything, all the blame, all the victim. And we had gone to McDonald's at 1:30 in the morning and I had these chicken nuggets in my lap. And I just started chucking chicken nuggets at my husband, screaming at him, saying, literally, I was throwing them. I was not only throwing them, Sam, I was dipping them in the sauce.
Stop it. You didn't.
And then throwing them at his head and at the ceiling of this house. And like there was barbecue sauce and honey mustard dripping from the ceilings. So like the next day, all of my sins were very apparent. Like I couldn't even get past it. And that was actually the moment for me that like changed everything because I had an out of body experience. And what came from me, there's a quote by Richard Rohr, and this sums it up perfectly. It's if you don't learn how to transform your pain, you will transfer it. And I was taking all of that pain and all of the frustration with me that was not like really committing and understanding that this path is like, you're gonna fail. Like that's gonna be a part of it. And you have to reach out and get help. And you have to, you have to tell people and you have to get vulnerable and you really do need to call on people for help. And I wasn't doing that. I'd never seen that my whole life. I'd never seen people ask for help. And so, here I am hovering above my body while I'm watching myself throw chicken nuggets where I think I might be at the point of no return in my relationship. Do you know what I'm talking about? Where you're like, we may or may not stay if I continue this.
I'm like, why are you not running out the door? I'm so confused. Okay.
Yes. And truly that was the moment I was like, oh, he was borderline, like I'm out of here if you don't. And that's what he said to me. He said to me that night, he was like, He literally said these words. He goes, I can't hear about this anymore. You're literally acting psychotic and you need to piss or get off the pot. And he's like, I can't hear about your dreams anymore. I can't hear about your victim, your like victim mentality. I can't, you're not capable. He's like, you're fully capable. You can figure it out. You can ask for help. He's like, I can't stick around for this anymore. And I know. So instead of being like, you're right, I screamed at him.
As you do after you throw a chicken nugget at someone.
Exactly.
With honey mustard.
Exactly. I may or may not have eaten them after that. I don't remember, but there's a possibility.
Please tell me you did. That makes the story so much better. You're like, wait, shit, give me that back.
I'm like, why did I throw this perfectly? It was like a 20 piece, so I'm sure there was some left, so you're fine. But that truly, believe it or not, was the moment of I can't go on like this. This is not sustainable. I'm going to push every single person away that I love because this dream that's inside of me is consuming me whole. Like it will destroy you if you don't go and do the thing. So where did that come from? The consistency. It came from like truly deeply understanding the pain that if you don't become consistent, you will consistently push everything good out of your life.
Oh, dude, I'm like sweating at that answer. That is so good. That is so good. Because we're always committed to something.
Always.
So what is the thing that we're committed to that we're consistent at? Are we consistently letting ourselves down, or are we consistently day by day, moment by moment, taking action in the direction of our dream?
I think something that really taught me about how it works too, like, how does this actually look every day? You know, what we see is we see people online that we follow be consistent and they just hit, right? Like one hit after another. We're like, another great reel. Congratulations. Like that's not
another $1 million launch. You
go,
girl.
actually super motivating for us in the beginning when our stuff is crappy. And like, honestly, the algorithm in the world and everything is so, you have to swing 1,000 times in order to get anything good. Like when you look at when you look at the most successful athletes or the most successful baseball player, the most successful baseball player also has the most strikeouts. Yeah. So the problem is that now everything that we're doing is online in public. So you first have to fully accept that in order to be successful, you actually have to look really dumb. And you have to get really used to feeling embarrassed. So for me, I always remind myself that like embarrassment and my ego is the price of success. And that's just what it is online. And so I feel like, sometimes I'll put things out and I'm like, oh, it sucks so bad. Like there's tons of my content weekly. I'm not even kidding. Like a lot of my posts, I'm like, I don't know. I'm learning publicly and we're constantly learning. So the thing that really taught me about consistency too is the fact that I got into fitness at a fairly young age, because with fitness, what I learned is that you can work out for a year and not see the result. You could actually work out for 2 years and not actually know that you've done some really huge things inside of your body. And it's not until you start really dialing in these small, tiny tweaks with your nutrition that you're going to see those results. And so whenever people start in a business, the first 2 to 3 years are so foundational that externally you're really not going to see a lot. It's actually quite lucky if people in their first 3 years start to see, a semi-decent income, because there is a foundation that has to be laid. There's a foundation in your business that you have to learn about, and there's a foundation that you are learning personally, who you have to become in order to deal with the things that could actually allow you to be the leader and the person who can make and sustain the money and hire the team who is going to be able to scale you. Because in the beginning, we attract a lot of people who aren't the right fit yet. And that's okay. But that's what the first 2 to 3 years of business looks like is a lot of times we're attracting people who we feel comfortable with, or, are telling us maybe they can do the things that they can't necessarily do yet. We don't know what to look for. We haven't had the experiences of, getting screwed over yet or we're not understanding. And I think that I wish more people knew what it took to be consistent. And I don't think we can learn that until, I mean, you can't learn it until you just do the little things every day and you trust. And trusting the process is the scariest thing. And I think the only way to do that is to have entrepreneurs in your life who remind you what the process looks like, or we forget. Like
Yeah.
we're around friends and family who don't do what we do.
Yeah.
And they're not going to sit and tell you, oh yeah, all those failures you've been through, like that's a part of it. They're going to just, they're going to not talk about it, or they're going to be like, oh, that sucks. Is that how it's supposed to go? Or maybe you should go get a different job, or
100%. 100%. Yeah. It's like holding the vision for yourself and trusting the process. That faith, in my experience, has been something that I need to work at actually harder than my business. It's like the faith of, I believe in what I'm building. I believe that I've got it. I trust myself to do it. I trust the mission that came to me. I trust like the market. I trust like God's got my back. I trust like in my experience, that's the hard work. Right. And it's like when you're experiencing failure after failure after failure after failure, and you're still holding the, Mary Morrissey says, hold the vision, not the circumstance. And I just love that so much. Like whenever I feel like a bag of shit, I'm like, Mary, come here. Right. It's like, hold the vision. Oh yeah, that's right. My vision of making emotional suffering optional, my vision of this, that, the other, whatever, or my vision of my personal life. And it's like, that's the muscle I feel like is so important as an entrepreneur. Like if I didn't have that, I'd be working at State Farm Insurance, I think.
For sure.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I'd be next to you. I'd be at the front desk booking your calls.
We would be such a ruckus, dude. Like we'd be throwing all the fucking chicken nuggets.
They'd be like, do you really want to work here? We'd be like, no.
Like, absolutely not. But there's pizza on Fridays and we're going to stay.
Yep. But we've prank called every person on this list.
Oh my God, we should do it for a day and just see what happens. That would be a funny reel, Lori.
That would be a good reel. There we go. That's how you get good content.
There you go. That's how you go viral. You put 2 entrepreneurs at State Farm Insurance for the day.
We would have to make up State Farm names though.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Oh my gosh. So funny. So talk to us about the last couple of years of your entrepreneurial journey. Highest of highs, lowest of lows. What did you learn? Who did you become? Give us a little snapshot into that journey.
Oh, okay. So let's see. Let's go back to 2017. I had just written a book. I had checked off something huge that was on my list. That was kind of the epitome of where I wanted to go. I wanted to be an author, especially in this, if we're all in the kind of personal development space, that's kind of like, oh, that is where, that's it, right? That's the top of the mountain. And
by the way, Angie and I had like 50 A Tribe Called Blisses in our house collectively.
I love this. I love it. I mean, it was such and I'm so grateful for that experience in my life. It was so wonderful. And I actually do want to write another book, just not right now. But that's 2017. And looking back, especially because where I had kind of shared with where I come from, like that was kind of the end of the list that I had written for myself, like I had kind of reached the end of like, whoa, if I do this, that's like, I did the women's event in person. I had really successful, like online courses, wrote the book. And I woke up after the book was done and I went on these amazing tours and it was really incredible. It was super challenging. But I woke up going, oh, is this like, was that it? Like, what do I do next? Do I write another book? Now, the reason why I felt a little bit like I was feeling a little unfulfilled in my life. And I'll tell you why. I woke up thinking that I was going to feel different on the other side of that book. Like it was going to really fulfill me. And all of a sudden I was going to have all of these friends or something or be popular. I have no idea. And I didn't feel very different. Like, even though I felt like I thought I was doing, the self-work and all of these things, my book was about, connecting women and deepening your friendships and moving past superficial friendships. And I was really lonely at that point in my life. My God, don't we like do and teach exactly what we need?
Dude, 100%.
So I'm telling people how to not be lonely and how to do all these things together. And even though I was doing it a little bit, I wasn't fully supporting myself in that way. And the journey of writing a book is actually quite individual. It's
Oh my gosh.
book writing and book marketing is a very individual sport. Like, because you're trying to get your book out there. Yes, you're going on these podcasts, but you're not like, podcasts don't make you super deeply. You don't feel
For sure.
like you're becoming very good friends with people if you're doing an hour here, an hour there, an hour here with all of these different people. You're never really fully
Like speed dating.
Speed dating, totally. And so I'm feeling super lonely and I'm like, do I want to be this, speaker? Do I want to be this author? And I'll tell you, I got a little gift during that time. On one of my book tours, I was at a certain location and I got to go to dinner with someone whose career I was trying to emulate. And this person was at the peak of their career. Like it freaking exploded. They were speaking on that year. They had booked over 200 stages and for great money, right? All of it was very exciting. Book exploded, New York Times bestseller, millions of copies. And I got to go to dinner with this person and at the dinner, they roll up and they're so exhausted they can hardly function. They literally tell me, they give me a hug and they're like you guys are gonna take the wheel because I'm not even here. I just landed from this speaking thing. You go and they're telling me you go and you're alone in the hotel room. You go speak to 10,000 people. You go back to your hotel room in the middle of nowhere sometimes, and you're at a Hampton Inn. It's not even luxurious. It's you're alone. You're away from your family. You give this talk. You get off stage. Nobody is there that You're not getting hugs or props. You don't really know if you did a good job or not.
Yeah.
And you get on the plane again and you do it all again. And they were like, I'm so exhausted. I'm not even halfway done with fulfilling everything that I'm actually contracted to do. And now my team and the marketing team all cost so much money that I have to do these things.
Yeah.
And I feel trapped in my life. When I say this person was not okay, they were not okay. And so I'm literally at the point in my career where I'm deciding what I should be doing. Should I write another book and do this speaking thing? Because that was where I thought I wanted to go. So you can imagine I leave this dinner and I'm very confused and grateful.
But grateful. Yeah.
So grateful, but also deeply who do I want to be? What do I want to do?
What a great question.
Oh my God. I actually don't love traveling. I don't love traveling. And back in the day at that time, to get your books off the ground. And it was such a desired thing to be a speaker. It still is. But if you don't love to travel, you really have to think about these things. I think
100%.
we didn't think as much. And I think people still need to think about it now. We don't think about what the day to day looks like of our big dream. We just see it.
I love that you said that.
We see the influencer, we see the things. I'm like, I don't want to be a full-time influencer. Do you know how hard that is to come up with content every day?
Yeah.
Do you know what your life will look like if you choose that route? And if you choose it and you love it, that's great. That's what we're trying to get to. That's what we're trying to get to. And so for me, I'm at this point and I have always loved products. I've been a huge consumer of them. I think my background. I was in network marketing. I have sold products now for 15 years.
I was in Isogenics when you were.
Amazing. Yes.
Yeah, back in the day.
Oh my gosh. I think it's been 15 years now. And I actually still love the products, but it was for me back then, they changed my life. It was such a pivotal moment. If I have an experience on something that changes my life, it's literally over. And I think most women are this way. If they have something they love, it's we become the world's we become the 100%. World's best salespeople. That's why 100%. When women are I don't like sales, I'm you do them every day. Like you're
Yeah.
actually so good at them. It's crazy. You just have to be aligned with the
Yeah.
thing that you're
Yeah.
selling.
100%.
And so for me, products was something that I naturally wanted to start thinking about. And I was like, okay, I asked myself this question. We're now in like 2018 because I was like, all right, I'm not taking a break from work because I have different things. Like I still have my programs and all of these things, but I'm just not going to move forward on like pushing my career
Sure.
forward for the
Sure.
next
Yeah.
year or two until I see what's next. Like when people
Yeah.
were like, what's next? I'm like, I don't know. I'm just going to do these memberships in my event.
Yeah.
Like, this is what we're doing. We're
Yeah.
not doing anything new. I'm not even allowing a new thought. Even if it comes in, I'm going to entertain it for a second, ask it why, and I'm going to let it settle. And so I took about
Yes.
probably like a year and a half to ask myself these 3 questions. If I had all of the time, all of the money, and all of the network in the world, what would I be doing for fun? Like, what would I be doing that
Oh,
feels most
such a good
fulfilling and fun?
question.
And I mean, I had so many things come up. I was like, oh my gosh, I was going to create like a place called Brunch that only served brunch where you got all dressed up and you also like got to network. Like it was a
I
brick
could
and
see
mortar
that.
location. Like loved it. There were so many ideas that came through. And then one that kept really exciting me because I also was feeling a little bit rebellious about you're gonna love this and partially get it. I was feeling a little rebellious about the personal development / spiritual world of what
Yep.
how they thought you had to be. And I was
100%.
like, I don't think I need to wear this mala to be spiritual. And I also,
I'm going
I
to take this
also,
crystal out of my
yeah,
butthole.
exactly. I also don't, because I came from a really religious background. So going
Yeah.
into something, and at that time, spirituality is very much like, here's the container, here's how you have
Yeah.
to look, be,
Yeah.
feel, act. You need to
100%.
wear white, go on the beach, put a crown circle of flowers on your head and do this thing. Great. I love all that. I did all that, but I was feeling a little rebellious. I was like,
Yep. Yep.
what
Yep.
what actually like am I excited about? How can I connect women? And the other question I was simultaneously asking was, my book had launched and it did well, but it did well to the community that was already into personal development
Got it.
and like
Yeah.
reading those books.
Yeah.
So I was finding I was seeing it in that community. And honestly, my heart has always been in not only that world, but truly in the world of bridging the gap into like the mainstream.
Yeah.
And so I was like, where are these girls who don't understand this yet? Where are they connecting and what are they
Yeah.
doing? And I was like,
Yeah.
oh my God, they're doing girls' night. They're literally
Yeah.
drinking wine and thinking they're leaving these events because I'd moved to LA and I hadn't been there that long. And I was going to all these networking events trying to meet people. And I was like, wow, they're going to these events, they're drinking and they're wondering why they're leaving feeling so disconnected. And so something came to me because, I was in the fitness world and I love to have, I love a cocktail. I love wine. I love to have a cocktail with the girls or my husband, but I always wondered, why can't we do something lighter? And, whenever girls were trying to drink something lighter, it was like a vodka soda. And I'm like, do we actually like this? Because this tastes disgusting. So I was like, what if we infiltrated them by giving them a lighter wine, like a wine spritzer, because White Claw had come out. And I was like, wait, no, we don't want to drink that. But what if we did something like that? Gave them a lighter wine spritzer and a non-alc so that our non-alc girlfriends could also have a cocktail with us and not look like they're drinking something else. Because it used to be a thing, you guys. It's not anymore. It's actually so cool to not drink. But it used to be a thing where if you didn't drink, people would
100%.
ask you what was wrong with you consistently.
100%. How times have changed. Holy crap.
Oh my God. And it's so great. I'm so grateful.
Yeah.
But on the back of these cans, I was taking these 3 questions that I asked at the Bliss Project. So we knew they were tried and true and like putting them on the back of the cans so that this was like connection. We knew that if they asked each other these questions, they were going to get an answer that they needed. And so this is what I rolled out in 2020 with before the pandemic. Created a deck with this, the idea of this. And long story short on that, because I want to tell you where we are now. But long story short, I raised $2 million from 54 female investors because they're all very excited about this idea. They all kind of have the same thing and want to solve the same problems, and they're super excited about it. It feels fun. It feels celebratory. Like I said, I was feeling a little rebellious at the same time. Like, no, this is what I do, and I've been hiding it from this community because they think it's low vibe, and it's not low vibe for me. For me, it is for other people. It's not a fit for other people. And And so I rolled it out and people loved the idea, loved that we could hit the mainstream. And 2020 hits. Obviously, manufacturers, co-packers, that whole industry just shuts down.
Shut down.
And so, you're trying to get an idea out, but you're bleeding dry every single month, trying to go to all these people who are like, yes, I can do it. We'll do this. Let's start rolling it out. And then they shut down. So there was a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of everything was lost. I mean, I know that this is thousands and hundreds of thousands of people's stories at this time.
Yeah.
And so, what's the challenge is we were all going through it, but we didn't all know what our individual stories were. So it still felt
100%.
very isolating.
100%.
So about $1 million into that $2 million, there were some things happening where I was like, this is not the time for this to come out. It's not coming out. We're either going to go, there's something called sunk cost fallacy, where just because you've put a bunch of time and money and effort in does not mean that you should continue down that road. And
100%.
thankfully, this is where I had some really incredible, powerful entrepreneurs who I had to get really real and say, hey, I got to tell you exactly where I'm at. I have to tell you all the places I've made mistakes, where I've failed, like where the money is. Like, let me show you all of this, and you tell me if I have a viable business after this. And so I went to a few people who were really big in the industry, and they were like, no, you don't. Like, not right now. It's not the right time. You can either go raise $10 million more to possibly make this work, because that industry is so expensive. Like, oh my God. Anything with red tape or legal fees like that, you need to raise $2 million just for your legal fees
100%.
over a period of time.
100%.
So I was like, okay, we're going to pivot. And the pivot also came from a lot of these, these like experts and founders who were like, most companies that you see out in the world aren't the original. It's like the third or fourth idea from the original idea. So they're like, take this, pivot, create a powerful story, take your skill set and use it in the thing that you're good at. And I'm like, what am I good at? I am so good at products and wellness. Like that's who I am. That's literally who I am at the core. And it's what I was successful in. And products and wellness has always been the foundation of all the personal development, of all the connection. You can't go out and be a great entrepreneur or even be a great friend or a great partner when you feel like shit and your wellness isn't on point. Like it's going to fall
100%.
apart. So that's where we are now. We have a company. We started a company called Glōci. It is it's a beauty and wellness brand. It's a skin routine that you can drink. So it's for skin and gut. So we went after some really incredible skin ingredients and also some incredible gut ingredients. So that's where we are now. And essentially it is the same vision with the same message of being the permission and being the proof that women can do this and that together you can really create anything. And I really want this story to be super powerful for people, not only to ask themselves some really big questions before they go into the business, but also if they find themselves in something that's not a fit or aligned or maybe not in their skill set or wheelhouse as much as it could be. There's always going to be things that aren't. Like you're actually, you really just need to be good. You need to be really good at one of the things that can move the needle, and you can hire and figure out for everything else. And I want this to be that message of create what you wish existed, because that's exactly what we did, and know what it's really going to look like along the path.
Dude, you're an amazing storyteller. That was so epic. One of the things that you shared earlier in the podcast was just like, we have to fail and fail and fail and fail and fail and fail. And our relationship to failure and our relationship to rejection or all of the rest of it is inherently what makes us successful, because it just is part of the recipe.
It is the recipe.
Like if we're making sourdough bread, let's run it back, and we don't have the oven, ain't gonna work.
I mean, when you talk to people, the reason why there's like this sourdough epidemic right now is because it literally
It's so fucking hilarious.
it's
Like, I
because it
can't.
literally is something that people are
Mm.
solving. Like you have to fail at it. Like in order for people to get that perfect loaf, which I just love saying loaf now, in order to get it, I want to see all of the loaves that it took to get that one, because that's the
Yes.
thing about sourdough. It's not
Yes.
easy. It's actually one of the
Yes.
most challenging breads that you can make. And so
Yeah.
that's why it's a challenge. That's why people talk about the perfect starter. And that's why it's
Mhm.
such a conversation, is because it's so hard to perfect it.
Mhm.
So go fail with your sourdough. It's going to be great.
Go fail with your sourdough and ask yourself, what is the story that I'm creating around
Yes,
failure? You
exactly.
know, like I
Mhm.
like for so long in my very first business before Hungry for Happiness, it was called Liftify, and we were helping personal
Mhm.
trainers go from
Mm.
on the gym floor to online, and totally failed, completely failed. I had no idea what I was doing. I was throwing shit at a wall, whatever. But it taught me everything that I needed to know for Hungry for
Mhm.
Happiness, and it was during that time period where I was like, failure is fuel and it means
Mhm.
nothing about my inherent worth.
No, that's so good and so true. And I think actually the more that you become willing to fail and the way that you handle it really
Mhm.
shows the level that you're getting to. And that's
Mhm.
just the truth. Because if we're in the beginning,
Mm.
failure feels awful. Failure
Mhm.
feels like the pain is 10 out of 10. And as
Yeah.
you progress, when you really understand what failure does for you, like I've had some epic fails, and I would not I would not go back and take them back ever, because they completely changed the person that I am.
Mhm.
And on the
Mhm.
other side of what would be considered an epic failure of this pivot, because if I really got into the ways that I failed, the teams that were not great, the money that was lost over figuring things out, like that
Mhm.
to a lot of people is considered massive failures. But
Mhm.
to me, like that was 1,000,000% learning to set me up in a really good place for this company. And also the backbone that I got, the ability to live with like, God, I mean, I guess deep embarrassment. There's nothing, what I want people to grasp is like, I want you to think about having a big idea and going and getting think of every mentor that, I know we shouldn't do this, but we do, that you put on a
Mhm.
pedestal. Like, I want you to
Mhm.
think of everyone that kind of makes you nervous, or that you, think is amazing, or put on a pedestal. I want you to think of your best friends. I want you to think of people who have supported you. And then I want you to think about them investing in you, like not a little bit of
Mhm.
money, but a lot of money. And
Mhm.
then failing and having to tell them,
Mm.
and then not knowing if this next idea will work, or if you've lost their money and you have to go on with your reputation and go
Mm.
out in the world and try to build something again with your tail between your legs. That
Woo!
turns you,
Baby. My asshole just clenched a little
it
bit.
hurts. That turns you into a different type of
A
person.
100%.
And the woman I am now is like, I would never have met her if it wouldn't have been for having to experience that. And, I think one of my biggest fears is, if you asked me in the past and even now, is disappointing
Yeah.
people. And so guess what
Yeah.
I got to go through?
Babe, what a
Mm,
divine assignment. It's like
mm.
light pink. What was it called? Pink,
It was called
light
light
pink.
pink.
Light pink.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was like that was the divine assignment for your soul's evolution to meet this warrior beauty version of you. Like how
Mm.
amazing.
Ugh,
God,
I'm so grateful
it
for
makes me
it.
cry.
We need girlfriends through this, you
Mm.
guys. If you're
Yeah.
thinking of taking something on, girlfriends and mentors, because I can't tell you the number of incredible men who have just like, oh my God, invited me to the table to have the hard conversations and show me,
Yeah.
things inside their business that
Yeah.
they failed at as well.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you absolutely, if you're thinking of doing something big, you need to start getting your like round table together of who's going to do
100%.
this with you.
Yep. Yeah. I recently made the wrong hire, which was like quite a big hire.
Mm,
And I was like pretty down on myself because this hire took me like 4 or 5 months in order to like find the perfect thing. And, you know, I was like pretty down on myself because this hire took me like 4 or 5 months in order to like find the perfect thing. And, you know, I was like pretty down on myself because this hire took me like 4 or 5 months in order to like find the perfect thing. And it ended up being beautiful because she's still working for the company, just in a smaller capacity. So it actually worked out pretty well. But I was so down on myself a couple weeks ago, and I went to my business coach, Scott Holman, who is just absolutely incredible. And he's like, so what? Wait, why are you upset? It's part of business. It's part of business. We're testing. He's like, do not, who cares? Move on. Let it go. He's like, you need to have like the brain like a goldfish. Like, just forget about it and take your next step.
100%.
And it's so beautiful to have those people in your life that have been there, done that. He's like, I've done this a million times. Like, just move on to the next thing. Yeah.
I'm really into like the fitness analogies and the sports analogies because of what they teach you. And like you said, the mind of a goldfish, the best athletes and players, they say, have the shortest memory, meaning they've worked so hard to have the shortest memory on the last play. Because you think of a LeBron, like if he just messed up 50 times on the court, if you asked him what he was focused on when he gets back out there, he doesn't even let it. He's like, no, like, this play. And that's the only way that you can do. And it takes so much work. The amount of times that I wake up in the middle of the night and I'll be thinking of something I did, or that, I'm stressed about, or I feel embarrassed about, or whatever. It's usually the embarrassment that keeps me up, like, oh, I can't believe I did that or said that, or, oh God, if this happens. And it's like, I literally in my sleep, I'm like, nope. And then I start praying. I'm like, God, help me take this. I say that all the time. I'm like, God, take this away. Like, I know that this is for my bigger like assignment and why I'm here. And I'm not going to be able to fulfill this purpose if I'm with this right now. So help me, take it away. Let me think of something else. Like, and I have to do that. That it doesn't just happen that one time. I'll say that 20 times before I fall back asleep.
Oh, babe, that's so good. That's so good. Yeah, it's like, I'm not going to carry this. I'm just going to surrender this and just fully trust that it's going to work out better than I could possibly expect.
What's the alternative? What is the alternative? You're either being consumed whole by what you feel stupid about, or you're being consumed whole by your vision, or you can move forward and actually like, I'm just in it. I'm in it. I'm just telling you, like,
I love it. I love it. Okay. Glōci, freaking awesome. You and Natalie co-founded it?
Yeah, it's so much fun. It's so fun to have a co-founder. So she came on a little bit after I had started it, which was so amazing because she was already an investor. So she had already helped. She was already on board from the beginning with the vision. She had helped in so many different points of my journey. Like, she actually got together with me and we did a bunch of business stuff. So when she had wanted a supplement company, and she was like, hey, I would love to be a part of this because I want to start one. Why wouldn't I just join this? And I'm like, yes, please.
Oh my gosh.
That would be amazing. Because she loves, she's so into her health and like all the biohacking things. Like, she's even more than me. Like, that girl is like, should be an
like
ingredient scientist. Like, she should, which now she can be. So that's been so exciting. And it's been really exciting to watch the ripple and impact of the product. Like, there's a reason we get visions, you guys, is when I go and read like the testimonials of what it's doing, you can't help but go, wow, getting this idea and also serving like what you need is going to serve so many people.
Yes. When I saw you guys were partnering up, I was like, this makes so much sense. I got so excited. I'm like, this company is going to be so incredible. So
we're having a great time. I mean, it just makes all the hard times easier having someone like bounce decisions with you.
Oh my God, it's so good. It's so good. So Glōci, a daily supplement that you put into your drink that is beneficial for your gut and your skin. So not only does it really help with just physical body, but you're going to look hot too, right? Is that,
I mean,
that's my sales pitch. Now you go for it.
I love this sales pitch, but it's starting. So what's so cool is when we started this, there weren't a lot of products like this out there. So we kind of felt like we had to educate a lot on it because, I come from the health and fitness industry. Like, that's what I started in when I was like 24 years old. So like, for me, it's always made sense that what you eat is going to show on the outside. I've always known that. I've known that about your skin. I've known that about hydration. We've done all the work with nutrition certifications, all the things. So I've always understood that. And when people are like, oh, you look so good, I'm like, well, what you eat matters. Like, it matters if you take care of yourself. So, and now there's so many products and big companies that are coming up with a different version of this. But when we put it together, we were like, okay, what are some of the things that women who are like us are wanting? And one of the biggest things was they wanted to feel good, they wanted energy, but they also wanted to look good. Like they wanted their skin to glow. You know what I mean? And so that was what we did when we created this product. Was we went for a really amazing probiotic. We found a probiotic that has 30 clinical studies on it because we wanted to make sure that it survives the gut. We wanted to make sure that it actually made a difference in your skin and in your body. So we chose a probiotic that we knew worked. And so we have a probiotic in there. We have hyaluronic acid, which is responsible for keeping your skin looking hydrated. So that's the thing that actually hyaluronic acid holds water underneath your skin. So what's cool about ingestible hyaluronic acid is everybody knows hyaluronic acid is actually good for your face and applying it topical. But the second you wash it off, it stops working and it's only where you apply it. So when you drink it, it's full body, it's everywhere. It's your neck, it's your hands, it's your legs, it's your, So that
I didn't even know you could drink it. This is
so
every
your
day is a
body
school day.
actually produces, hyaluronic acid is something your body produces naturally. So if you put more into your body, you're obviously going to see more effects. So oral hyaluronic acid has a ton of amazing studies coming out. Oh my gosh, about like visibly noticeable changes in the plumpness of your skin, texture, and wrinkles, like fine lines. So I'm obsessed with it. Like I drink 2 to 3 per day. So hyaluronic acid, probiotic, we have an incredible magnesium in there. So magnesium, the magnesium is called Aquaman magnesium, and it's not a synthetic magnesium. So it's natural. It's from a marine source, which is awesome. So it's very bioavailable. And we know that we need to be remineralizing our water because there's no minerals in there. And it has 72 plus trace minerals in it. Sea salt, zinc. It's just a really, really incredible product that we're so proud of. And instead of putting 30 ingredients in there, we just put the amount of each ingredient that we knew made a change. And that was, especially with the probiotic and with the hyaluronic acid, like we put the daily effective dose that has been studied to work.
Oh, amazing. Amazing. You guys go to www.getglōci.com, getglōci.com, and then at checkout, put Skelly for 20% off. So Lori's giving y'all 20% off for listening to the show. Dude, thank you so much.
You're so welcome. This was so much fun.
Oh my gosh, it's always so fun to catch up with you. Thank you so much for sharing just your story of entrepreneurship and the ups and downs. It's like, I know for myself, when I hear stories of other entrepreneurs, I feel just like a regulation in my nervous system. It's almost like, oh, I'm not alone. And we got this conversation allowed us to do that at scale to thousands of female entrepreneurs. So thank you so much for just being so open and willing to share and just so beautifully transparent. I just appreciate you so much.
I'm so grateful. Thank you for letting me share, because I think that if we can let people know what it really looks like, that they won't give up, because they're your idea, your product. The reason that you feel so called to it is because it's people are waiting for that impact.
100%. 100%. That's so good. Lori, where can we find you other than Get Glōci?
Anywhere at Lori Harder on Instagram, Lori Harder for website, all the Lori Harders.
And Earn Your Happy podcast.
The podcast, that too. Yeah. Thank you so much. You've been on the podcast.
Oh my gosh. Such a good show.
Yeah,
such a good show.
Fun.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next week. Bye for now.
Can't be contained.